When did you realize your financially stable boyfriend was a total scam? I literally just sprinted out of an Easter brunch so fancy they had little cucumber sandwiches, and I am currently hiding in my beat-up 2018 Honda Civic, engine running, blasting Taylor Swift, trying to figure out if I call the police or my best friend first. Seriously, I just found out my boyfriend of 2 years and 8 months has been lying about literally everything, and I'm sitting here feeling like the world's biggest idiot. I feel like I might throw up the perfectly glazed ham I just ate. I need to vent this out to the internet before I do something rash, like keying his beloved, completely unaffordable BMW. TBH, I'm only typing this because my iPhone 14 has 47 notifications waiting and I need a distraction. I swear, if I look at another Happy Easter text, I'm going to scream. Okay, deep breath. Let's start at the beginning, or rather, the last 2 years that now feel like a very elaborate, expensive prank. My name is Sarah Coleman, 24F. I know, dating a much older guy is a massive red flag already, especially when you're an ethical non-monogamy practitioner and he's supposedly a mature, financially stable trust fund kid. Enter Stephen Carter, 53M. When I met Stephen, he was charming. He had this whole relaxed, I've seen it all, I am financially secure, I am emotionally available vibe. He knew I practiced ENM, which for the record involves tons of communication and boundaries, and he claimed he was excited to explore it, which was a huge draw for me. We agreed on everything: transparency, honesty, open communication about new partners, safety first. Spoiler alert, it was all performative garbage. Problems started subtly, like a slow leak in the ceiling you ignore until it turns into a massive flood. He lives in this amazing apartment, Unit 3B, but he never actually seemed to do anything. Like, I knew he had inherited money from his family, the Carter dynasty, apparently. But he never worked, never seemed stressed about bills, just went to the gym, bought expensive gadgets. He has the whole Apple ecosystem: watch, AirPods, iPad, the works, and complained about his siblings. I live in a much less glamorous shared apartment downtown, splitting $1,247 rent with a certified nightmare of a human being named Natalia Nelson, 56F. Natalia is my roommate from hell. She's supposed to be splitting utilities 50-50, but she literally spent the last 6 months making me the scapegoat for every single household issue. Did the $85 plumber charge show up because the toilet was constantly backing up? Sarah, you used too much toilet paper. Was the Hulu Disney Plus Netflix bill $43.67 higher this month? Sarah must be streaming too much. I was constantly being blamed for things that were absolutely not my fault, and Stephen would listen to me vent about Natalia and say, "Oh honey, you need to just move out. Let me help you." That was the first mistake. Stephen loved playing the white knight. He insisted on paying for everything when we went out. Expensive dinners at Olive Garden and GL. I love their breadsticks and Panera. He bought me a fancy espresso machine for my birthday. He'd sell me money sometimes if I complained about Natalia raising a fuss over the $43.67 grocery bill that was mostly organic blueberries for her smoothie habit. But the money math never quite added up. He was always doing these weird, small withdrawals, $200 here, $200 there. And I asked because, transparency in a relationship where one person is constantly helping the other financially is a thing. He'd brush it off. Just handling some trust logistics, darling. It's boring old man stuff. I should have paid closer attention. Past me was such an idiot. 2 weeks ago, everything ramped up. Stephen's younger brother, Madison Kelly, 34F, showed up. Addison, bless her heart, is the epitome of the spoiled brother archetype, even though she identifies as female. Madison has this reputation in the family for being chaotic and constantly relying on Stephen to bail her out. Madison showed up driving a massive truck, demanding money for some business venture involving artisanal pickles, and immediately started treating me like Stephen's temporary, annoying fixture. We were trying to have a nice, quiet Tuesday night. I had just finished an 8-hour stretch of back-to-back Zoom meetings, my team's notifications were off, and my brain was fried. Madison came in, loud as hell, and started trashing me to Stephen while I was in the kitchen struggling to assemble a mediocre Trader Joe's meal. Seriously, Stephen, you letting her manage your schedule? She's so young. Are you sure she isn't just after the inheritance? Madison said this with her whole chest. I walked out holding the half-defrosted chicken and said, "Madison, I practice ethical non-monogamy. I'm here for Stephen, not his bank account. We value honesty and mutual respect." Madison just looked at me, dead serious, and said, "Oh, trust me, sweetie, there's nothing honest about Stephen." I thought she was being dramatic, trying to get under my skin. Stephen pulled Madison aside, whispered furiously, and suddenly Madison was saying sorry, but the seed of doubt was planted. Yesterday, Friday, Stephen was stressed because he had some kind of family thing he was supposedly mediating. He was leaving for the weekend. We were at the Starbucks on Main Street, trying to grab a quick coffee before he hit the road. He ordered some ridiculously complicated oat milk latte, paid with his Apple Watch, and was texting furiously. He complained that his iPhone storage was full and he was having terrible battery drain. I suggested he delete some old apps. "Can't possibly let you touch my phone, Sarah," he said too quickly. "It's all trust documents and banking stuff, confidential." I know, massive red flag, but I honestly thought it was because he was embarrassed by how much TikTok he watched. I started feeling really paranoid. I went home and realized that Natalia had somehow managed to lose my security deposit check for the next month's rent, which was already stressing me out because I had used up all my PTO hours already this year and was trying to save. I was feeling that familiar tightness in my chest. I felt like I was back in high school, being blamed for something I didn't do. I needed something normal. I decided I would go to Stephen's apartment on Saturday morning to pick up my favorite oversized hoodie I left there, the one that smells like his overly expensive cologne. He had given me a gate code a year ago, but he changed it recently and gave me the new one, 4217. I got there Saturday morning at about 11:47 a.m. Steven was supposed to be long gone, mediating this family thing in West Palm Beach. I swiped my key and the door to apartment 3B was unlocked. Weird, Steven is usually neurotic about security. I stepped inside and instantly felt the vibe change. The air was thick, too quiet. The first thing I noticed was a brand new Samsung Galaxy phone sitting on the counter, charging right next to Steven's usual iPhone. That was odd because Steven is an Apple purist. Like, he judges Android users. Then I heard a sound from the bedroom. Low humming like someone was singing along to an old song. My stomach dropped, I froze. I had that physical reaction where my ears start ringing and my vision gets blurry. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I slowly walked toward the bedroom, trying to tell myself it was Madison. Maybe Madison came back and was sleeping off a hangover. But Madison's truck wasn't outside. I peeped around the corner. It wasn't Madison. It was Natalia Nelson, 56F, my roommate from hell. Steven's bed, wearing my favorite oversized hoodie. I swear my jaw literally dropped, like cartoon character jaw drop. Natalia looked up, squinting through her cheap reading glasses. "Oh, Sarah, didn't Steven tell you I was house-sitting?" she asked, completely unfazed. "Natalia, what the fuck are you doing in Steven's bed?" I couldn't even speak properly. Wait, what? What are you saying? "He lets me stay here when he travels," she said, pulling my hoodie tighter around her neck. "It's closer to the office," he says. That was when everything clicked, the constant scapegoating. The way Natalia always knew about my schedule. The weird $200 withdrawals Steven made. The tension Madison picked up on. Natalia wasn't just my roommate, she was the scapegoat's best friend and potentially Steven's what? I didn't stick around. I grabbed the Samsung Galaxy phone off the counter. Natalia tried to stop me, yelling, "Sarah, don't, that's confidential." I was already out the door. I sat in my car in the Target parking lot down the street, shaking so hard I couldn't unlock the phone immediately. It was one of those cheap, burner-looking Galaxies. It was brand new and unlocked with a 4-digit code. 0, of course it was. The phone was loaded with communication, but the main thing that made me see red was a dating app profile. A profile that clearly belonged to Steven, except the bio was different. Way different. It was listed as Steve, 53M, seeking a committed monogamous partner, recently divorced, tired of games. And then I saw the conversation history. He had been texting Natalia, using this profile to find women, and Natalia was acting as his wingwoman and worse, apparently his beard house sitter. The whole E&M practitioner thing? A lie. A massive, insulting, disrespectful lie. He never planned on communicating. He planned on using my open lifestyle as an excuse for his secret life if he ever got caught, while simultaneously searching for a traditional partner. I was so distraught I almost missed the second part. The reason Natalia was blaming me for the rent, the utilities, the plumber bills. I opened up the Zelle history on the Samsung. Steven wasn't just covering his expenses, he was covering Natalia's too. Paid Natalia's $1,247 rent every single month. He covered the $85 plumber fee and then listened to Natalia blame me. He even covered a $347 bill that Natalia had racked up at some fancy jewelry store. I felt numb but raging. All those times I had apologized to Natalia, thinking I was genuinely a messy roommate. All those times Steven had consoled me, knowing full well he was bankrolling my tormentor. It was all a setup. I was the perfect, convenient, young E&M scapegoat, while he was maintaining this fake narrative of being a financially responsible, emotionally mature widower. He never said he was divorced. He implied his wife passed, searching for commitment, all while screwing Natalia and enjoying my presence as his side piece. I drove home and didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, thinking about how stupid I was. I felt like I was covered in stress acne and my chest was tight. It came today, Easter Sunday, the day of the fancy brunch at the Carter family estate, where I was supposed to be officially introduced to the extended family. Steven had insisted I come. "It's important they see you, Sarah. See how good you are for me." The audacity. I went because honestly I needed the confrontation to happen in a place where he couldn't physically disappear. I drove the beat-up Honda, wearing a dress I bought at Target for the occasion, feeling like a ticking time bomb. State was ridiculous, like something out of a bad movie. Huge lawn, caterers everywhere, a massive tent. I saw Madison, 34F, almost immediately. She was wearing some ridiculous designer dress and looked furious. I decided she was the only ally I had, even if she hated me. I walked straight up to her while Steven was talking to someone important looking. "Madison, I need to talk to you. You were right about Steven. There's nothing honest about him." Madison's eyes narrowed. "What did he do this time? Did he promise you a Peloton and only get you an Apple Watch?" "No," I hissed. "He's running a secret life and he's paying my roommate Natalia to actively sabotage my life so I'll be desperate enough to move in with him. And he's using a dating app to find a monogamous wife." Madison's expression completely changed. She went from spoiled brat to absolutely deadly. "Wait, Natalia Nelson, the one who lives in that dump downtown, is paying her $1,247 a month. And a $347 jewelry bill. I have proof. I have the burner phone." I pulled out the Samsung Galaxy. "Holy shit, Sarah." Madison grabbed my arm. "You need to understand something. Steven doesn't have a trust fund anymore. He blew through it 2 years ago. He is literally deep in debt to our family. The money he's spending, it's all my inheritance he keeps borrowing." I felt the blood drain from my face. I thought it couldn't get any worse. I was wrong. The financial stability, the whole basis of the relationship, was a complete fabrication backed by family theft. Steven saw us talking and started marching over, frowning. "Sarah, Madison, what is going on? Don't be rude, we have guests." Madison didn't flinch. She grabbed the Samsung and held it up like a trophy. "Oh, we're just talking about how you're using family money to finance your dating apps and pay off your geriatric hookups, Steven." Steven's face went white. The color matched his perfectly pressed shirt. "Sarah, give that back, that's confidential information." Steven yelled, loud enough that a few people turned around. I just stared at him. "You lied about your entire life, Steven. The E&M, the money, the trust fund, paying Natalia to make my life hell. Made me the scapegoat so you could look like the hero. He tried to grab my wrist. You're being dramatic. You're too sensitive. It's Easter, Sarah. You're ruining everything. Let's talk about this later. We are talking about this now, I said, my voice shaking but loud. You told me you were financially secure. You told me you valued honesty. And you were running a fake profile looking for a wife while using me as your convenient, disposable girlfriend. And Natalia. We're paying my roommate's rent so she'd constantly stress me out. You're remembering it wrong. That never happened. He started gaslighting me immediately. Madison stepped in front of me. Don't you dare touch her, Stephen, and don't you dare lie to me again. I'm calling Dad. Stephen went absolutely ballistic. He snatched the Samsung phone from Madison's hand, slammed it down on the cucumber sandwich table, scattering appetizers everywhere, and yelled, "You are all crazy. I never said that. Sarah, you need help. You're making things up." I felt the rage I hadn't let myself feel for 2 days. I saw red. I didn't even yell. I just walked over to the table where the expensive crystal glasses were, picked one up, and smashed it on the ground right next to his Italian leather loafers. I'm done being your scapegoat, I stated completely calmly. Just done. That's when I turned and ran, leaving him shouting behind me about how I was too sensitive and how I was ruining his reputation. I'm sitting here now in the Target lot, and Madison has texted me 27 times in the last hour. She sent me one message that really stood out. Madison texted, "Sarah, he's going to try to paint you as crazy. He does this every time, but I saw the profile. And I saw the Venmo history on his other phone. You need a restraining order. Can help? Get out of the Civic. Go to my place. He has the gate code. I'm serious. He's coming for you." I just checked my location and saw he was still at the estate, probably trying to clean up the shattered glass and smooth things over. But the way Madison texted it, "He's coming for you," that felt genuinely terrifying. I had given him the keys to my apartment, relying on Natalia to be there to get them back, but now I know Natalia is fully in his pocket. He has access to where I live. And that's when I realized the real Easter brunch was probably next weekend. This fancy little gathering, it was probably just a shakedown for more money from his family. I don't even care about the lost security deposit anymore. I need to make sure he never gets near me again. My phone battery is dying at 3%, and I have to decide if I text Madison the address of my mom's house in Westfield or if I call a lawyer right now. But the thought of him showing up at apartment 3B while I'm moving my stuff out, or worse, showing up here in the Target parking lot, I need to disappear. I have the dating app profile screenshots. I have the Zelle proof. I have Madison on my side. But how the hell do I deal with Natalia, who's probably already alerting him to my every move? And how do I get a restraining order against a man who seems completely comfortable with financial ruin and emotional manipulation? Turning the engine off, I'm going to throw the Samsung Galaxy into the dumpster outside the pharmacy entrance. I need to move. I need help. What do I do first? Do I call my mom or do I call the lawyer Madison keeps insisting I need? And seriously, what the fuck do I tell Natalia? I feel like I'm going to hyperventilate. Send help, Reddit. I am literally shaking. Y'all, okay, I'm back. Sorry for the delay updating. I threw the Samsung Galaxy, the burner phone, remember, to the Target dumpster, and then I drove straight to Madison's place, completely ignoring my mother's 47 missed calls and the 3 texts that started with, "Honey, Stephen is a good man. Sometimes men just need space to process." Oh, Mom, you have no idea. Madison Kelly, 34F, lives in a fantastic little loft apartment near the water, which I now know is 100% financed by the money Stephen stole from her inheritance. The irony is just astronomical. When I got there, I was still shaking, and Madison looked less like the spoiled brat I met on Tuesday and more like a tactical operative about to execute a complex military maneuver. "Sarah, deep breaths," she said, ushering me inside and locking the triple bolt door. She immediately poured me a massive glass of very expensive Chardonnay and set my dying iPhone 14 on her fastest charger. "You did the right thing. He's coming for you, not physically right now, but he's going to try to destroy your reputation and worse, your life. He always does this when he gets caught. This is how he covers his tracks." I sat on her absurdly plush velvet couch, drinking the wine too fast. "Madison, I don't understand. Why me? Why go through all the trouble of paying Natalia to ruin my life just so I'd move in with him?" Madison sighed, running a hand through her perfectly styled hair. "Control. Stephen is obsessed with control and appearances. When he burned through his actual trust fund 2 years ago, he panicked. He needed a scapegoat and a stable girlfriend to show the family he was responsible, even though he was secretly bleeding me dry. You were the perfect mark. Young E&M, constantly dealing with roommate drama that he could rescue you from. If you moved in, you'd pay half the utilities at 3B, and he could micromanage every aspect of your life to keep the secret going. Natalia, she's just desperate for cash and status. She's his little informant." She paused and looked serious. "But listen, the dating app profile, that's the real threat to him. Not because of the monogamy thing, but because it proves he's actively trying to find a replacement now while maintaining a facade of stability to the estate lawyers. If Dad sees that Stephen is using Madison's money to find a replacement wife and also paying off my roommate to sabotage me, it's over. He's cut off. Permanently." The focus shifted immediately from my emotional pain, which was still enormous, to damage control. Madison handed me her laptop. "First things first, we are getting a temporary protective order TPO filed by Tuesday. I already called my divorce lawyer, Brenda. She's expensive, NGL, but she's the best. She works fast. We have the screenshots, the Zelle proof, and my testimony that he is using family money under false pretenses. The lawyer is going to frame this as financial and emotional abuse, leading to stalking and harassment concerns." I felt a tiny spark of determination. "Okay, what about Natalia?" "Natalia is his tool, not the main target. We deal with her by cutting the supply line. Do not contact her. Do not go back to that apartment. You are staying here, period. You're going to have a lawyer send a formal letter to your landlord tomorrow morning, explaining that you are vacating the premises immediately due to an unsafe living situation involving severe emotional and financial abuse by another tenant who is being bankrolled by Stephen. You should not be responsible for the remainder of the lease or the security deposit that Natalia lost. Brenda will handle it. Suddenly, the chaos started turning into a plan. I spent the next 12 hours screenshotting every suspicious text, every Zelle notification, even the $43.67 for the blueberry smoothie ingredients, and drafting a long, detailed statement for Brenda, the lawyer. I barely slept. I stress-ate half a bag of Madison's fancy imported potato chips. So, it's been 2 days since Easter brunch. My phone has been blowing up, but only with texts from people I actually trust, mainly because Madison helped me block Stephen and Natalia on literally everything. Blocking him felt like pulling a very painful tooth, a needed tooth extraction. Brenda, Madison's lawyer, is a machine. By Monday at 10 a.m., she had filed the initial TPO request and sent the certified letter to my landlord. My landlord, a sweet but scatterbrained man named Mr. Henderson, actually called me back looking utterly confused. "Sarah, what is this about a protective order? And Natalia Nelson? She paid her rent this month already, right on time, in cash." I explained calmly, thanks, expensive Chardonnay from Sunday, that Stephen Carter was the one making those cash payments, and that Natalia was leveraging that financial support to emotionally torment me. I said I had proof, and that I was happy to share it with the police if necessary, but that I needed to be released from the lease immediately due to the situation. Mr. Henderson, perhaps sensing the impending legal disaster, agreed to let me out, contingent on the official court order being granted later this week. I was free of Natalia and that terrible apartment. NGL, I cried a little bit of relief. The emotional roller coaster, though, was insane. One minute I was completely resolute. The next I was looking at old photos of Stephen and me, remembering the good times like the Olive Garden breadsticks, TBH, and questioning if I had overreacted. Then I'd remember the $347 jewelry bill he paid for Natalia, and the rage would return. Madison was my rock, constantly reminding me, "He made you think you were crazy, Sarah. That was the whole point. You're not crazy. You're ethically non-monogamous, which means you value communication. He weaponized your integrity." Update, Tuesday afternoon. We had the initial TPO hearing. It was terrifying. I had to appear virtually, thank God, because I could not face Stephen in person yet. Madison sat next to me, holding my hand, whispering encouraging things like, "Remember the stolen inheritance, Sarah. Remember the artisanal pickles." Stephen, represented by some tired-looking lawyer, tried to play the role of the wounded, elderly gentleman being victimized by a scorned young woman. His lawyer argued that I was a financially motivated opportunist who, upon learning Stephen's finances were not as stellar as I hoped, fabricated this entire story to extort him. They tried to use the ENM practice against me, implying that I was promiscuous and prone to emotional instability. But Brenda was ready. She presented the screenshots of the dating profile, where he explicitly stated he was seeking a monogamous partner. She showed the Zelle receipts directly from Stephen's account to Natalia Nelson for her rent and the jewelry bill, and paired that with Madison's affidavit confirming Stephen had no genuine trust fund anymore, only family loans, which were really Madison's inheritance. Brenda hammered home the point. Stephen wasn't just lying. He was actually using family money to pay a third-party Natalia to create emotional distress for me, driving me into a state of vulnerability so he could control me fully. She also argued that Madison's texts proved Stephen posed a genuine threat, not just physically but financially and reputationally. The judge was, thankfully, a no-nonsense woman who seemed utterly bored by rich people drama but took the evidence seriously. Granted the temporary restraining order, effective immediately for 2 weeks until the full hearing. Stephen has to stay 100 yards away from me, my place of employment, and Madison's loft. It felt like a massive, immediate victory. Stephen looked absolutely furious on the screen. He muttered something to his lawyer, but it was too quiet to hear. I just let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "That's phase 1, Madison said, high-fiving me. "Now we move your stuff." 3 days after that Friday, the logistics of moving out were a nightmare. The TPO meant Stephen couldn't come near me, but it didn't include Natalia. Madison, being Madison, was not going to let me go alone. She insisted on bringing 2 very large, very intimidating male friends who looked like they should be bouncers at a club. Showed up at the apartment complex at 9 a.m., right when Natalia was supposedly at her office, which I now suspected was probably just a part-time gig selling essential oils or something equally dubious. I had my key, but Madison insisted we change the lock immediately just in case Natalia came back early. One of the bouncer friends, Tank, I wish I was joking about his name, it was Tank, changed the lock in about 3 minutes flat. We started packing my belongings. Had lived there for 3 years and suddenly everything felt disgusting, tainted by Natalia's constant passive-aggressive energy. Halfway through packing the kitchen, Natalia came home. She was wearing a perfectly pressed suit and looked absolutely shocked to see 3 strange people and me in the process of taking all my spatulas. "Sarah, what is the meaning of this? You can't just change the locks. Where's my key? And what are these men doing?" she shrieked, her voice hitting a frequency that only dogs could hear. I stopped folding my ridiculously extensive collection of band t-shirts. I looked her dead in the eye. "Natalia, I am moving out. Mr. Henderson approved it. I know Stephen was paying your rent. I know he was bankrolling you to emotionally harass me so I'd feel desperate enough to move into his debt-filled apartment. I have the proof. You are going to be hearing from my lawyer, Brenda, about the missing security deposit and the fraudulent utility charges you blamed on me." Natalia's face went completely slack. She tried to recover instantly, pulling out the old favorite. "Sarah, you are being hysterical. You are making things up. Stephen is a dear friend who was merely helping me during a rough patch. We were worried about you, about your ENM lifestyle." Madison stepped forward, radiating cold, hard fury. Stop lying, Natalia. We have the dating profile screenshots and we have the Zelle history. You know, Steven paid your $347 jewelry bill. You are not just a roommate, you were an active participant in an emotional abuse scheme. The cops know, the judge knows, you are an accomplice, and if you say one more word to Sarah, we will add you to the TPO immediately for harassment. Now, get out of the kitchen before I call the building manager. Madison, the spoiled brother, saving my life. TBH, it was iconic. Natalia, seeing Tank and the other guy blocking the doorway and realizing I wasn't alone and wasn't going to be easily gaslit this time, backed down. She grabbed her purse and stormed out, slamming the door. The satisfaction was palpable, but quickly replaced by anxiety. I knew this wasn't the last I'd hear from her. By 4 p.m., all my stuff was in a storage unit, except for essentials, which were now crammed into Madison's guest room. I was officially homeless but free. A week went by where I focused intensely on work, trying to catch up on all the PTO I had used and the brain space I had lost. Steven sent 2 very emotional, extremely manipulative emails to my work account, which was stupid because I could just forward them to Brenda. Email 1, subject: Urgent, please read, Sarah, I miss you. I know I made mistakes. I should have told you about Natalia earlier, but she was going through a very hard time and I was just trying to be a good Christian. You are blowing this all out of proportion. We had something real. Your choice of lifestyle made me realize I needed stability and I was trying to find a balance. Please call me. This TPO is embarrassing and unnecessary. You know I would never hurt you. I love you. Lies, all lies. I forwarded both emails to Brenda immediately. Responded with one word: perfect. The emails were exactly the harassment we needed for the full restraining order. The financial reality was hitting hard. The lawyer was costing me a small fortune, even with Madison getting me a friend discount. I was eating ramen and instant oatmeal. I had to pay for the storage unit. But I was finally sleeping soundly, not waking up in the middle of the night wondering if Natalia had secretly disconnected the internet again just to watch me fail. This morning, exactly 2 weeks and 2 days after Easter brunch, the full restraining order hearing. This was the moment of truth. I was in the lawyer's office this time, sweating through my favorite Target dress. Madison was there, sharp as a tack. Steven was present with his sad-looking lawyer. Brenda walked the judge through the entire narrative, frame by frame. One, Steven's financial instability, confirmed by Madison. 2, the discovery of the burner phone and the lying dating app profile, monogamous search. 3, the Zelle receipts proving he paid Natalia's rent and expenses while she actively gaslit and harassed me, making me the household scapegoat. 4, the abusive and manipulative emails sent to my workplace after the temporary order was filed. Steven's lawyer tried to pivot, claiming the Zelle payments were a business venture between Steven and Natalia, maybe a side hustle involving the office she went to. This is where Madison had her major character development moment. He stood up, looking directly at the judge, and dropped the bomb. Your Honor, if this was a legitimate business venture, why was Natalia Nelson staying in Steven's apartment, Unit 3B, in Steven's bed, while Steven was supposedly out of town on family business? Natalia is my family's former cleaner. She had a close relationship with my mother. Steven paid her, not for business, but to keep him informed about Sarah's movements and to stress Sarah into being dependent on him. Natalia herself admitted she was house-sitting when Sarah discovered her there. Steven completely lost it. He jumped up, knocking his chair over. That's a lie. She's lying. Madison, you're ruining everything. You know I need that money. Brenda immediately objected, citing the obvious emotional instability and the outburst itself as proof of Steven's manipulative nature. The judge banged her gavel. Mr. Carter, control yourself. It took about 20 minutes for the judge to deliberate, but it felt like 4 years. When she returned, she confirmed the worst fears for Steven and the ultimate relief for me. The full restraining order was granted. It lasts for 3 years. Steven must stay 100 yards away. He is strictly prohibited from contacting me via any means: phone, email, social media, third parties. He has to surrender the gate code and keys to my former apartment to the sheriff's department within 24 hours. A moot point since I moved out, but still satisfying. And the cherry on top, because Madison was there and the issue of family finances had been introduced, the judge ordered Steven to pay a portion of my legal fees, $5,000, explicitly because his deceptive actions were directly responsible for my need to seek legal protection. I almost cried right there in the lawyer's office. Madison, completely vindicated, just smirked. That's what you get for stealing my future artisanal pickle money, Steven. By Tuesday, I was officially moved into a tiny studio apartment that Madison helped me find. It's definitely a shoebox. I can touch the stove and the bed at the same time. But it's mine. The only person who has the key is me. Changed my cell number, updated all my passwords, and felt like I was finally exfoliating my life. I still haven't talked to Natalia. I did get one final desperate text from her new number, which I blocked immediately after reading. Natalia texted, Sarah, I lost my job because of this. Steven cut me off. He said this is all your fault. Can you at least pay the final month of utilities? I still need to find a place to live. Please don't tell anyone about the jewelry. It was a gift. The sheer audacity. I showed it to Madison. We laughed until we cried. Madison suggested I send back a single Zelle request for $43.67, labeled organic blueberries, and then block her. I didn't send the request. I just blocked her. I'm done engaging. The weirdest part of all this is my unexpected friendship with Madison. Person I initially dismissed as a spoiled pain in the ass turned out to be the one who had the deepest understanding of Steven's manipulative games. She had been the family scapegoat before I showed up. She was constantly blamed for the missing money, the chaos, the instability. We went out for celebratory expensive cocktails yesterday. Madison looked at me over her glass. I owe you an apology, Sarah, she said, sounding genuine. I was an awful, judgmental brat when we met. Seeing how Steven tried to use your vulnerability against you, seeing the absolute mess he made of your life just for control, it just mirrored exactly what he did to me for years. You were the external scapegoat. I was the family scapegoat. We both just wanted to be honest, and he couldn't handle honesty. I accepted the apology. It felt like the final piece clicking into place. We both realized we were victims of the same abusive pattern, just in different roles. We're now officially best friends, TBH. She even promised me a lifetime supply of artisanal pickles if the venture ever takes off. End reflection. It's 3 weeks out now. I'm broke, slightly traumatized, and still trying to process the fact that my 2-year relationship was a performance art piece designed to make me feel small and dependent. I have bad days where I feel really stupid for ignoring all those flags. The weird money, the fast emotional availability, the instant white knighting. But then I look around my tiny, safe, non-toxic apartment, and I realize I did something incredibly difficult. I stopped being someone else's convenience. I practice ethical non-monogamy because I value communication, integrity, and consent above all else. Stephen Carter tried to twist that integrity into a weapon against me, making me believe that my values were the problem, and that I was the dramatic, messy one. I learned that the deepest, most insidious form of manipulation is making you doubt your own perception of reality. Stephen wasn't just lying about being monogamous. He was lying about his whole life, his money, his intentions, and even my own worth. He set the stage, made me the star of the tragedy, and paid someone else to throw tomatoes at me. I'm still finding my footing. My credit score took a small hit because I had to deal with some shared utility accounts that Stephen messed up, but Brenda is helping me dispute it. I'm currently eating the world's cheapest dinner, but I am laughing more than I have in months. I haven't heard from Stephen, which is the point of the TPO. His family is now dealing with the fallout of the money issues, and Madison is, hilariously, enjoying the chaos. I'm going to therapy, focusing on work, and definitely taking a very long break from dating. Maybe indefinitely. I need to figure out who Sarah is when she's not recovering from trauma, you know? Yesterday, I woke up, looked at my phone, and instead of checking for texts from him or Natalia, I checked my work calendar. It was just a normal Tuesday. No drama, no secret sabotage, no frantic escape plans. It was gloriously boring. I'm free. I was the scapegoat, but I grabbed my life back. Anyway, that's the update. Thank you, Reddit, for letting me vent during my moment of crisis. I'm gonna be okay. We'll update if Stephen gets arrested for trying to violate the TPO or if Madison's artisanal pickles become a national sensation. Hopefully the latter. Send me good vibes, and maybe breadsticks. I miss those.